never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Before I get into today's video, let me first say that it is a Friday, so if you're one of those people who gets Friday off because of Memorial Day, then get ready to look forward to a 3-day weekend. And if you're one of those people that also gets Monday off for Memorial Day, then get ready for your 4-day weekend. I do not have one of those jobs. I have to work today and work on Monday. But on to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about college football, but it's not going to be like the video I did last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, where I just gave about 10 or 12 different news and notes about college football. Today, I'm really only going to talk about 2 things. And as always, any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. I'm going to start out with the quote that Mike Leach had. Now, it's been a couple of weeks ago now that he has said this. It was right after the Kentucky Derby, and I was going to talk about it then, but I was so perturbed by what he said, I said I better wait a little while and give myself time to calm down, because they claim Mike Leach has an IQ of over 200, and he's just really intelligent. I guess he just goes to show what's wrong with the world now. Everybody has book smarts, but nobody has any common sense. And when people that are this smart say stuff this stupid, it makes me want to punch something. But if you have not heard what Mike Leach said, or maybe you heard a little bit about what he said, but not the quote in its entirety, let me tell you what he said. And then the last part of the paragraph that he said is the part that I'm going to harp on. Right after the Kentucky Derby, Mike Leach was quoted saying, "That horse winning the Kentucky Derby is a good example of why an expanded playoff is needed." This is the part I'm going to focus on. That horse hadn't won all the races leading up, but it got its chance, and that's what happened. That's the part I'm going to focus on, because that's basically Mike Leach saying he hadn't won, but he got a chance. So we're just going to take and expand the playoff just to expand the playoff. And if you follow the channel, then you know by now that I am 100% against expanding the playoff. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I think 4 teams is plenty. Most years, it's hard to find 3 good teams, let alone 4. So the more you expand it, the more you're just putting teams in a playoff that have no chance of winning the national championship. And Mike Leach said that horse hadn't won all the races leading up, but it got its chance, and that's what happened. So he's basically saying, take a 7-5 team, put them in the playoff just to give them a chance. What's the point? What's the point in playing a 12-game season if you're going to take 7-5 and 8-4 teams and put them in the playoff just to give them a chance? That's stupid. You might as well just play about 3 regular season games and then just pick 32 teams and say, well, you're in the playoffs, you're in the playoffs, you're in the playoffs, you're in the playoffs. What's the point in playing a 12-game regular season that's going to last about 2.5 months and then turn around and just put teams in the playoffs just to say, hey, we're giving you a chance? I just don't understand how people can be this smart, book-wise, and be absolutely clueless when it comes to common sense. That horse winning the Kentucky Derby is an example and a reason why the college football playoff shouldn't expand. You don't put teams in the playoffs, just because. You're supposed to earn your way in, and going 8-4 or 7-5 is not earning your way into the playoffs. Why in the world would you put somebody in just to give them a chance? If they're 7-5, they're not a playoff team. If they're 8-4, they're not a playoff team. One of the reasons why I've said for years, and it's one of the main reasons why I get irritated and so frustrated when people know nothing about college football and they have no argument. So their argument is, well, their schedule is tougher. Who cares? If you take two teams and they both play 12 games and one team goes 11-1 and the other team has a tougher schedule, but that team goes 8-4, who's going to the playoffs? The 11-1 team. So why does it matter whose schedule is tougher? I don't care if you play the top 10 teams in the country on your schedule every year. If you go 8-4, you are not a playoff team. It's just that simple. That's just the facts. An 8-4 team, a 7-5 team, is not going to the playoffs. So yes, Mike Leach's comments perturbed me because you don't just put a team in the playoff just to give them a chance. They have to earn their way into the playoffs. And him saying that just goes to show why I don't want the playoffs to expand, because you're going to have teams in the playoffs just because. If you're there just because, you have no chance of winning a national championship. And if you have no chance of winning it, why are you there? To me, there's no reason for you to be there. And the other thing I'm going to focus on today is what's been the talk of the town for just about this entire week in college football, and that is the SEC. And I swear, Greg Sankey just gets stupider and stupider and stupider. I think Mike Leach and Greg Sankey are having a competition over who can be stupider. But Greg Sankey supposedly says the SEC is going to break away from everybody else and have their own national championship. And their national champion will be declared the college football national champion. That is about the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Now, will they do that? Maybe. But if they do, we're talking about 15, 20 years, if not longer, down the road. This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Now, you can have a game and you can declare that team the national champion, but they're still going to have to play somebody else. I don't know if Greg Sankey is aware or not, but there are other conferences and other teams out there besides the SEC. And I don't know if Greg Sankey's aware of this or not, but if we go back to 2013, that's 9 football seasons ago. In the last 9 college football seasons, there have been 4 teams that have won a national championship that do not play in the SEC. So you can't say that's half because it's 9 years. So it's about 45%, something like that. It'll go down to 40 or up to 50 after this upcoming season, depending on who wins the national title this year. So with 4 out of the last 9 teams that have won a national championship not being in the SEC, that just goes to show there are other conferences out there besides the SEC. I think somebody needs to call Greg Sankey and tell him that because he's not aware. That is just bad for the game, and it makes him look so stupid in saying something like that. I don't know why in the world you would get on radio or TV or any place and say something that ignorant. Because I don't know the latest ratings because I quit following it, but I know that through the 2020 season, the SEC network was losing money because if you have any kind of cable or satellite company, you pretty much have that network, whether you want it or not, whether you watch it or not, you have it. And it was losing money because the SEC, even though Greg Sankey may try to deny it and not admit it, it is a regional conference. So that is a regional network. You're not going to find anybody out in California watching that network. You're not going to find anybody up in Maine watching that network. So it was losing money because they're trying to force feed people that don't care about the SEC, the SEC. So you have all these sponsors that are forking in money to be on the SEC network, and they're not getting their return investment because you have people that don't watch this channel living thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, and you're trying to advertise. They can't go to your business even if they watch the channel because they're 20 hours away. So all these businesses and all these sponsors were losing money. If the SEC was as great and powerful as Greg Sankey thought it was, their network would not be losing money. But even if you like a team in that conference, you don't watch that channel all day, every day. I'm a Clemson fan. But if I pass by the ACC network, if they're not talking about Clemson, I just keep going. If they're talking about any other team in that conference, I keep going because I don't care. I'm a Clemson fan. The rest of the conference means nothing to me. And that's how most people feel. You don't watch a network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just because your team plays in that conference. You watch them because they're talking about your team or they're showing your team. So if this conference was as big and bad and great and mighty as Greg Sankey thought it was, their network would not be losing money. The network is losing money because it's a regional conference. So it's a regional network. And if you take a regional conference and try to make it the national conference, you are destroying college football. It's stupid. It makes no sense. Now, I'm not saying that the conference isn't going to continue to expand because it may end up having 20 teams before it's all said and done. But there are still other conferences. And you can't all of a sudden exclude every other conference and pretend like the team that wins your championship automatically wins a national championship. I guess the one that Florida State won a few years back, it didn't count. The one the Buckeyes won a few years back, it didn't count. The two that Clemson won here recently, they didn't count because those teams don't play in the SEC. So if you don't play in that conference, your championship, it doesn't matter. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why we say we want to help college football grow, and then we turn right around and say stuff that's destroying college football. Does not make any sense to me. Any thoughts on either of these topics, please feel free to let me know. Going to end today's video with a Did You Know? Did you know that the shovel was a groundbreaking invention? And that is your dad joke of the day. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.